Let's have a quick look at an overview of the Slingshot rigid body tools. I'm going to come in here. I've got a scaled up pig head that's sitting just above the y equals 0. I'm going to select this and go Slingshot, Effects, Rigid Bodies, and Boolean Fracture. This is a really quick fracture setup where basically we're going to create a VDB from polygons. We're going to use the Slingshot Diverse Scatter to put some points just around this space, and we're going to create a whole bunch of grids. They're going to act as our cutting planes. We can make this noise a little more aggressive if we want to, like so. And we will run this Boolean fracture. Might take a second. There we go. And there are our exploded pieces there. We can then take our Boolean fracture and we'll go Slingshot, Effects, Rigid Bodies, Quick Rigid Bodies, and this will create a very simple rigid body setup for us. We get the name attribute here. We pack our pieces with said name attribute on disassemble. We set some initial attributes like its initial velocity and angular rotation. We also make sure all the pieces are active, and we would use this wrangle to set any inactive pieces that we wanted. And then our rigid body sim is done in here using the rigid body solver and RBD packed objects. There's a gravity and a ground plane as you would expect. We then transform the original pieces back using that name attribute, and if we were to run this now, you can see our original pieces that are unpacked are moving where our packed pieces are going. We can now select our pieces and go Slingshot, Effects, Rigid Bodies, RBD Constraints menu, and I'm just going to move this back to the first frame here. And what I'm going to do is say add glue constraints. It's going to prompt me to select my dot network. In this case, this is RBD sim. I hit accept, and I can now close this menu. What it's done is create a connect adjacent pieces node, which we can come in and start to work with here. We've then got our constraint name and strength set up, and we also have the option with the glue constraints of setting some amount to be unbreakable by percentage. So say I wanted, I don't know, 10% of them to be unbreakable, I might do 5. They're going to be set to -1. We can then see inside our RBD sim, it's created the constraint network and the glue constraint that we're going to need. We just connect this in here, and we can see our constraints are all working. And just to make this a bit easier, I'm going to set some initial velocity. So we go down with initial velocity of -5, and if we view our out RBD here, okay, nice, that's sort of working. Let's give it some angular rotation as well, something a bit more aggressive. There we go. Okay, that's spinning a bit too fast for our constraints. Let's just make sure we're connecting to some pieces appropriately. Feels like we're getting some pieces that aren't connecting, so I'm just going to increase the search radius and the max connections over here. That looks a bit better. And we'll test how that looks. Okay, that's looking better. And there you go. Might be a bit too aggressive, so let's just come into our initial attributes here, and we'll just set this to maybe 10 by 10. There we go. And you can see some pieces holding together here because they're using that unbreakable constraint percentage here. If I would set this to 50, I'd likely only see a small amount of chipping, if anything, on our pig. You can see almost nothing breaks. Maybe we make this 20, see how that looks. Yep, we get a few pieces breaking there, nothing too much. So maybe make this 10. That feels a bit nicer. But you can see how quickly I've now built a fracturing setup, constraint setup, and simulation setup, all ready to go and easily modifiable. If you're interested in trying this out, have a look at the full version of Slingshot. It's available on my Gumroad now. Thanks for watching.